com.
Have you experienced an increase in your insurance premiums? We know it can be both frustrating and confusing. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance, an Alera Group company. Insurance rates will always be increasing. As an auto owner's independent agency, we strive to stabilize the rate increases by quoting multiple carriers to give you multiple options. Give us a call today to discuss your rates and get the best price. 435-752-0101.
For your next anniversary, give her the gift of diamonds from S.E. Needham Jewelers. Diamond jewelry makes a woman feel cherished. She'll also be impressed with your fine taste. Choose from an extensive selection of diamond earrings, diamond pendants, diamond bands, and diamond bracelets. You can expect the best price every day of the year. No need to negotiate because we offer our best price up front with our exclusive integrity price guarantee. S.E. Needham's is known for quality jewelry for more than a century. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on this Saturday morning. It is the Garden Guide, where we talk about all things lawn and garden with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden. And a little different today, as we won't be able to take phone calls to answer questions, but we have gone through and tabulated a number of calls and questions that have come in over the last week, and a lot to be able to talk about, Mark, as we're heading into what looks like a little cooler weekend.
I like a cooler weekend.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Compared to the triple digits last week.
Everybody complains about how hot it is, but just remember, we're not in Arizona, which is 115.
Yeah.
And it's always 100 degrees on Pioneer Day.
Mm-hmm.
It just never fails.
Yeah.
Almost always.
And we did get just a little bit of rain. It hasn't been much, but a little bit. We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. And it would be nice if we get a little bit more. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
As we head into August, of course, we're looking forward to seeing a little bit more rain in the forecast, which would be good. But I know we were talking about it last week. Watering lawns and watering gardens, that's kind of at the top of everyone's to-do list right now, especially because of the heat.
Yeah. And even as hot as it's been, I've only been watering every 3 to 4 days in my garden. So not excessive, but I water for longer periods of time, less frequently. So it keeps the soil moisture there, and the plants are producing like crazy. So this week we actually had kind of a vegetarian meal where it was like potatoes. So we got potatoes coming out of the garden. We had zucchinis. We had cucumbers. We had kohlrabi. We grilled some onions on the grill, and they were they were to die for. They were really, really good. And then we did some beets, and I've got some carrots that are ready as well too. So we're just like taking everything coming out of the garden. The tomatoes are starting to come on too.
Come on.
Yeah, so we've been picking tomatoes this week. So if I can get a ripe tomato around 24th of July, then we've done well. Yeah, we've done well. So we've been picking, really since the 4th of July, we've been picking cherry tomatoes, and I've got some full-size tomatoes that are all coming on right now as well too.
And I was mentioning to you before we went on air this week, we had apricots coming out of our ears. Yeah. Uncle of mine, he's had a tree for 30 years. It's huge. Sure. He called us up and said, "Hey, these are ready to pick. Can you use a couple of buckets?" And we said, "Yeah, we'll come over and help you pick them," because he's older, and we just wanted to try to help him out. And boy, after picking 10 buckets of apricots, it didn't even look like we'd put a dent in that tree. We told him, we said, "We're sorry, we've got to leave. we've got all the buckets
as
that
many
we
as
can
we can
fill.
handle. Yeah.
And on the way home, we're trying to find every neighbor that happens to be out on the street. Here,
have some.
Take
some
a bucket of
apricots. Yeah.
apricots.
That's the way the cherries were last week too. The cherries were just coming on like crazy. So it's really nice when you start to, harvest a little bit out of the garden. Your fruits of your labors are coming on. So you work throughout the first part of the summer and spring and hope that you're going to have something to harvest. And now all of a sudden the harvest coming on, you're like, it's a little more than I thought I was going to get. Now what do I do with it? Start sharing. If you have extra produce, it's great to share with neighbors. It's great to share with people in your local community. But you can always share with the food pantry too. Yeah. Food pantry will take all that fresh produce and it will be gone. Yeah, almost instantly. So if you have extra, just take it down to the food pantry, and they will be more than happy to find someone in need.
And definitely, don't let it go to waste because all of the labor that you put into it, let someone enjoy the fruits of your labor for sure.
Absolutely. Very, very excited about the potatoes this year. They've been producing like mad. So I tried some new fertilizer and a new root enhancement for the potatoes. And instead of getting, 5 good-sized potatoes off of each hill, I'm getting 10. It's like doubled.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's more coming. So did a little digging this week, and some of the hills that I didn't treat, potatoes are gorgeous. They're nice. They're good size, but there's 5 or 6. And in the ones that I treated, they're nice, they're gorgeous, there's 10 or 12. So double the production on the potatoes. So very, very pleased with that. And my giant pumpkins are coming along too. I would say they're probably, I've got 2 that are about 70 pounds.
70
right
pounds now.
Yeah,
and these are the 2 that you're just going to let go.
Yep. So we're going to just let them do their thing. And I'm fertilizing them about every other day right now. So they're getting a lot of fertilizer, but definitely protecting them from insects. So I've been doing some different insecticides and the repellent as well. And then some different disease control on those as well to keep them from getting powdery mildew and, various viruses and things as well too. So they're coming along. I know there is a grower here in the valley that has a 700-pound pumpkin already.
He's at 700
pounds. Yeah. So we got a couple big ones here in the valley, and sounds like there's a lot of growers in southern Idaho, Salt Lake area, and Wyoming that have some nice big pumpkins coming as well too.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so not too bad.
Well, a lot we can talk about: diseases, insects, taking care, watering your lawn. Yeah. And but first, let's talk about what's going on in the store this weekend.
Some things happening at Anderson. So, of course, we just got some new shrubs in and some new trees, and we just redid our parking lot. So the parking lot got a new 1.5-inch overlay of asphalt. So we got a beautiful new parking lot. So we were not closed, but the parking lot was closed for a couple of days this week. But we are now fully open and functioning. We've got it all reorganized out there, and hopefully we'll get another 20 years out of this parking lot, since that's how long the last one
lasted.
The last one lasted 22 years. We do regular maintenance every 3 or 4 years. We'll do some maintenance on it so to get to last a little bit longer. But this time 22 years, and it was starting to show its age. So it's like, let's put a new layer down, and it looks great. So we're super excited about that. But new trees came in, new shrubs came in, some new perennials came in, and we are doing a special sale right now. So all the trees, shrubs, vines, perennials, they're all 25% off. And some of the fruit trees are 30% off as well too. But then we're going to start the cash sale. If you want to come in and pay with cash, we'll give you an extra 10% off. So if you pay with cash, the dollar, like the bills, the
Franklins,
the bills with the presidents on them,
Washingtons.
they'll get an extra 10% off. So 25% off all of our nursery stock, except for the fruit trees that are already 30% off. But if you pay with cash, you'll get an extra 10 on top of that as well too. So 35% off or 40% off, depending on which one. And it's a great deal. You pay with that cash, you get that extra 10, and it saves you a little bit of money.
All right.
Yeah, so good deals going on there. Garlic will be coming in the latter part of this coming month. So usually it's about the middle to the latter part of August that the garlic starts showing up. And we're suspecting that bulbs, like fall bulbs, will start showing up the end of August as well too. They might be a little bit later. Shipping is kind of a little iffy again this year, so we'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed for those. But anticipating the garlic coming in here pretty soon. So good time do it.
Well, and the bulbs are coming all the way over from...
They're coming from Holland. Yeah, they're coming from Holland. So we've got some new bulbs coming, some exciting ones. And then this week we've been working on peonies and iris at my house. So this is end of July, first part of August is prime time for digging up your iris and your peonies and dividing them and replanting. And so if you've got iris that have taken off and gone crazy and have spread all over the place, this is the time of year to dig those up, trim the tops down so they're about 3 or 4 inches tall, and just cut all the foliage and the spent flowers off, and then replant those. So it's a really good time to divide and separate and clean up your iris. If you've got like grass and weeds and stuff that have snuck into the iris, we can just dig those up right now, divide them up, and replant them, and then you'll have great iris again for next year. It's a good time to do peonies as well too. The key with doing iris and peonies is to make sure when you plant them to get the crowns just at the right height. And so with the peonies, the crowns should be about 2 inches below the surface, and with the iris, they should be just barely covered up, half inch to an inch at the most on the iris. And we'll plant those so that the fans are towards the direction that you want them to go, because the tuber will kind of looks like a bug, it looks like a caterpillar. And then on the tip, like on the nose of the caterpillar is where the fans of leaves come up. And so you plant them so that the caterpillar is pointing in the direction you want it to grow.
You want it to grow.
Yeah, because it's gonna keep growing that way. So I plant them in 3s or 4s or 5s, depending on how big of a spot I've got, and I'll plant them with their tails kind of not touching but pointing towards each other, and their noses going out.
Opposite
directions. Yeah. Okay. So they're pointing in different directions, so they won't like grow together in the middle, but they'll grow out, and you'll get a bigger cluster that way. So I've decided to go through and clean up a bunch of my dad's iris. He's got probably 20 different varieties, and kind of consolidate those in one location in a nice big raised bed that we built. And so last week a couple months ago, when they were done blooming, we went through and took pictures and cataloged all of them, so we have numbers for all of them.
Kind of know where they are.
Yeah, so we know where they are, and I got pictures of them all. And then this week, we went and dug those up and cleaned them up and divided them, and I gave a bunch away to some friends, and I gave a bunch away to some of the employees because we had like so many, and I still have like way too many. But then I took 3 or 4 or 5 and replanted those into our new raised bed. And so we should have some amazing iris for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be really nice. But it's a good time to do peonies too. So you do the same thing with the peonies, dig those up. You can figure out where the eyes are at, and then you plant them so that crown where the eyes are coming up, where that crown's going to be 2 inches below the surface. The peonies like a more well, they like full sun just like the iris do, but they can handle a little bit of like late afternoon shade is usually good for those. So sun from all day and then some late afternoon, early evening shade would be great for the peonies as well too. But good time to do peonies. And then a lot of our customers are digging up their garlic right now.
Oh,
yeah. So end of July, 1st of August is when the garlic that you planted last fall is like ready to go. Yeah. So now you can dig that up, you can dry it, let it cure a little bit, and then it'll be ready to plant the first part of September through the first part of October, or darn it, you could start eating it. Yeah.
Even better.
Which is terrible. Yeah, this is terrible. So this week, a little fresh garlic to go with some zucchinis and onions. That sounds really tasty. Yeah, it sounds really tasty. And with the beets, I dug up some smaller beets, and we just left the tops on them, and then sautéed them, just kind of browned them in some butter, and then finished them off by steaming them. And those were really quite tasty too. So we have some golden beets, some red beets, and some striped beets that are all coming on at the same time. If you've never grown the striped beets, they're called Chioggia, and the Chioggia have more of a radish turnip beet flavor. So they taste like beets, but they have a little bit of a radishy turnip kind of taste to them as well too. So they're really, really mild. And so I've got some striped ones, the Chioggia. I've got some Burpee's Golden. So I've got some golden beets, which are a little sweeter than your standard beets. And then I've got some Scarlet Supreme that are grown as well too, and they all have really nice tops. So you can like eat the tops, you can use the beet greens, or you can eat the roots, or you can eat them both at the same time. Yeah, so not too bad. That's really good. We've been grilling the zucchinis on our grill, and they've been so good. Yeah,
And
like amazing.
What do you usually treat them with, or kind of
Great.
season them with?
Great question. And so there's a lot of different ways to do it. But what I'll do is I'll slice them pretty thick. So they're about 1/4 inch slices. You could go a little bit thicker if you want. Then they tend to not like disintegrate on the grill when you do that. So 1/4 inch, a little bit thicker. And I'll coat them with just a little bit of either avocado or olive oil. And the avocado oil will sear at a high, like it's a hotter temperature oil, so you can sear a little bit better with it. But the avocado or the olive, really good, gives it a nice little flavor. And then I've got this kind of smoked seasoned salt that's like amazing. It's really, really nice. So it's got a little hickory flavor into it, and we've just been seasoning them with that. And then if you want to finish them, I've been using a garlic balsamic vinegar. So it's a balsamic vinegar that's got a little garlic infused flavor into it, and then you just kind of drizzle that on the zucchinis. Oh man, it's
really good.
It's really, really good. Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, one of the favorites, we'll take and slice ours up, and we'll probably go a little thicker than 1/4.
Yeah.
But then just mix a little egg flour mixture with salt and pepper.
Yeah, and then fry those.
Just fry it.
Yeah, just fry them. So the fried zucchinis are good too. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, so little batter on there and quite tasty. So lots of good recipes for fresh stuff coming out of the garden right now. It's hard to beat. But like we mentioned at the top of the show, lots of bugs and lots of diseases are showing up. So I think probably 8 out of 10 people that are coming in the store right now still dealing with grasshoppers. And we've talked grasshoppers, ad nauseum, over and over and over again, but we're still dealing with grasshoppers. But the powdery mildew is really kicking in, and there's some options to prevent. And since we're having a really humid week where we've got the thunder showers, so we've got a lot more humidity, and you've been able to feel it. I mean, it's like
you go outside.
It's been kind of like sticky. It's not as hot, but it's just kind of like feeling kind of sticky. This is like prime time for the mildew to take off, because the higher humidity, the hot temperatures, and then the cool nights, which are amazing, because like as soon as the sun goes down, it's like,
it's perfect time to get outside.
It feels so good. Yeah, it feels so good outside. But the mildew really takes off as well too. So I've been treating all my squashes, melons, cucumbers, pumpkins with fungicide 5 from Fertilome. So the fungicide 5 is a natural bacteria, but it's good bacteria instead of a bad bacteria. And it will take care of mildew, so downy and powdery mildew. It'll take care of leaf spots. It works on early and late blight that bother potatoes and tomatoes. It works on verticillium and fusarium. So it's a soil drench to work in the soil, as well as a foliar spray to work on airborne diseases as well too. And it will actually eat the diseases off of your plants. So that bacteria will consume the diseases, and it does a really, really great job at controlling some of the disease that's showing up on all kinds of plants. So mildew, downy and powdery, works great on those. I have a lot of customers who are getting that into their maples as well too. And on the maples, the fungicide 5 is good, but it's hard to spray every single leaf. And with a contact spray like the fungicide 5, it works fine for your vegetables in the garden. I can mix up a gallon and go and spray all my leaves of my zucchinis and my crooknecks and the cucumbers and stuff. That's really easy to do. But if you got a 40-foot maple,
a little bit harder.
It's a little bit more difficult. And so that's when you want to switch to a systemic fungicide. That way you spray as many of the leaves as you can, try and hit half or, 3/4 of the tree. But the stuff that you can't apply it to, it will work systemically from the inside out. And so it will stop the disease from spreading from leaf to leaf systemically from the inside out. So F-stop from Fertilome, awesome, really good. The liquid systemic fungicide, also great. The F-stop is it's labeled for use on edibles, so you can use it on just about all kinds of vegetables, and so that one's safe for most of your edibles. The liquid systemic fungicide is not, and so that's one that you would just use on ornamental plants as well too. But love that fungicide 5. Like I planted, I've got 28 tomatoes this year, and if we don't use the fungicide 5, I will lose 6 or 8 or 10 to various diseases. And this year, not a single one. They not a single one. They just look amazing. So between the kangaroos and the Bigfoot that we're trying out this year. The Bigfoot has that's what I've been using on my potatoes to get the double potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
I've been using the Bigfoot on it, and the Bigfoot is like absolutely amazing. I can't believe the size of my onions right now are what they usually are the end of August.
Wow.
Like they are the size that they are by the end of the season usually, and here it is the end of July.
And
so
they're
going crazy.
month and a half.
So between the Bigfoot and the Fungicide 5, I feel like we have completely eradicated the diseases that are in the soil that usually affect my tomatoes and my potatoes as well too. Potatoes are the best looking that they've really ever been, and that has helped so much. But now's the time when we're going to start seeing those diseases on the tomato leaves and on the fruit as well too.
Yeah.
High humidity. Not only do we get powdery mildew, but we start to get bacterial speck, and we get some leaf spots on the tomatoes, which can affect the fruit as well too. So again, the Fungicide 5, just a light spray every 10 to 14 days is going to prevent all those diseases before they even get started. Yeah.
Now, what about the triple action from Fertilube?
The triple action's really good too. It's a combination of neem oil and pyrethrum.
Yeah.
And it does a really great job on powdery mildew. It's better to prevent than it is to cure, is what I found. So better preventative, but it has some insecticidal properties, so it's going to work on insects as well as
squash bugs and other things.
Not too bad on the squash bugs. Yeah, really not too bad. They are tough to kill. And I've had a couple of people in the valley come in with root weevils that have gotten into their pumpkins and squashes as well too. So a little bit different from the squash bugs, but the weevils are even more difficult to control. So we've had to switch to either permethrin or the sayonara or the 7 to try and get those under control. And we're doing it as a drench because they're going after the root system where the vines come up out of the ground. So we've been mixing up in a watering can and then watering the plants with it. And then as they come in contact with it, as they're nibbling on the root system of the plants, it kills them. It kills them in the ground. So this week for my giant pumpkins and for my zucchinis and for my regular winter squash, I did a drench of like the Fungicide 5, and we did the sayonara, which really is great for the insects. We did a little combination of those, and then I threw a systemic fungicide in there as well too, so I could spray on the leaves because can't quite get all the leaves on those stupid giant pumpkins because they're so huge.
Yeah.
The plants are just like massive, and so I did a drench on those to allow it to pick that systemic up. Through the root system as well too. So I got my fingers crossed that we'll get all the diseases and insects under control. Lots of beetles. So Mexican bean beetles are showing up, Colorado potato beetles, cucumber beetles, and they're just nibbling. They're just nibbling on everybody's plants.
And we've noticed, last we sprayed for grasshoppers 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I went out there again this last week, and I was like, I'm going to have to do it again.
They're starting to creep back in.
Yep.
But, last year it seems like we were spraying about every week to 2 weeks because they were just so bad. And this year it seems like we've been able to go 2 to 3 and sometimes even 4 weeks in between application because the pressure it's just not quite as bad as last
years
year.
Past.
Yeah, last year was horrific. But we still have tons and tons and tons of grasshoppers. So for grasshoppers, the 7, the sayonara, the permethrin, and the bug blaster from High Yield, those are probably my 4 favorites for right now. And it's nice to have some that are better for vegetables and some that are better for turf and ornamentals. A little bit more like the bug blaster has a little bit more kick to it, but you can't use it on edibles.
On edibles,
on edibles. So, but Fertilume's going to have, well, actually, it's High Yield's going to have a new version of the bug blaster next year, and it has the lambda cylohethrin in it, which is the same thing that's in the sayonara. And so High Yield's going to have that available, and it is less expensive. So the price is going to come down on that,
nice.
which is really nice. Yeah.
Really cool.
So one of my very favorite products will be available in High Yield label, and it's safe for fruits and vegetables, and it has a nice long residual, and the price is down. Yeah, can't beat that.
Win-win-win.
Yeah. When you get $5 to $10 off a quart bottle, makes it very, very, very reasonable. Yeah, much, much more reasonable than it is right now. So it's nice to see some of those prices coming back down on pest control.
Very cool.
Yeah, because last couple of years it's kind of shot up, whether it's weeds or bugs or diseases. It seems like they've just kind of slowly crept up, and now we're starting to see them coming back down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so nice.
Well, we still got a lot more questions we're going to answer coming up in the show. And one of the things I was going to mention, though, that interesting with insects, we were talking about, doesn't seem like grasshoppers are as bad. Seems like mosquitoes also aren't as bad. Now, it may just also depend on where you're at, but
I was expecting
years past.
Yeah, I was expecting a big mosquito year, and it just hasn't materialized as much. Probably because it went from cold and wet, hot.
Yeah.
It just turned hot really fast.
Well, and we can also thank our abatement guys who
are doing a great job to prevent.
Take care of it. So thank you to them.
Yeah.
But I mean, in years past, you'd go out into the garden and you just have to drench yourself in mosquito spray. And this year, I'm saving
repel a little bit. So it's been nice. It's been a great growing season, and we're very pleased with the harvest that we're getting off of our garden, and we anticipate a lot more.
Yeah,
a lot more.
Well, and one thing I noticed this year we did a little differently is we've kind of taken the approach of letting our bees just kind of do their own thing. I treated them for mites and have fed them a few times, but other than that, I haven't really been into their hive a whole lot.
Yeah.
And they seem to be doing a lot better.
Yeah, they're doing great. And my hive got a little slow start this year. We were kind of slow getting going, but it's rocking now. So
nice.
It's doing well. So I'm not anticipating getting quite as much honey as I have years past, but that's okay. We've got enough in the cupboard.
Yeah, we're looking to put our super on probably in about a week, which would be about 3 or 4 weeks ahead of what we've done in the past.
All right. Well, that's good.
So a lot we have left to talk about. This is the Garden Guide here on KVNU, and a quick reminder too that if you're around downtown Logan this weekend, stop in to Anderson Seed and Garden. Fruit trees, other trees are on sale.
Fruit trees are on sale, but we also have all of our shade trees, flowering trees, shrubs, flowering shrubs, evergreens, vines. They're all on sale for 25% off, perennials as well too.
Okay.
And if you pay with cash, you get an extra 10% off. So instead of paying instead of getting the 25% discount, you'll end up getting a 35% discount. But you got to pay with cash. So we're talking green bills with presidents on them. That's cash. Debit card, credit card, check, not cash.
All right. So a lot going on at Anderson Seed and Garden, and a lot more to talk about as the Garden Guide continues coming up here on KVNU.
I'm Bill Walter, KVNU News. Fireworks are being looked at as a possible cause of a fire that sparked in West Valley City Thursday morning, damaging 3 homes. The West Valley City Fire Department says firefighters responded to the blaze at about 2:40 a.m. They say the fire started in the backyard of one home and spread to the yards of 2 other homes. Fire officials say the house where the fire started suffered the most damage and is not habitable. Troy Wood has lived in his West Valley City home for 27 years. He says he woke up around 2:30 a.m. Thursday to an orange glow outside his bedroom window. Wood says he later saw there were flames in his backyard. He says he woke up his wife so they could get out of their home safely. Wood says 3 sheds, an RV, and some of his family's precious belongings were damaged in the fire. Emergency crews were called to the wind caves in Logan Canyon to help a distressed hiker. The incident was reported just after noon on Friday. According to emergency radio communications, the 65-year-old woman was hiking the trail when she lost consciousness. Other hikers notified 911 dispatch operators who paged paramedics and search and rescue teams to the trailhead. One of the first deputies to arrive on scene began hiking up the trail and located the woman about a quarter mile from the trailhead. They reported that the hiker had regained consciousness and was hiking down the trail on her own. Paramedics were waiting at the trailhead to assess the woman, who declined treatment. Over the weekend, chance of showers on Saturday, upper 80s, and then drier air moves in Sunday, and upper 80s for the high on Sunday afternoon. Get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Welcome back to the Garden Guide here on KVNU. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden, talking all things lawn and garden here locally. And as we were finishing off that segment, going into the bottom of the hour news break, mentioned that all of your trees right now on sale at Anderson Seed and Garden, between 25, 35, 40% off.
Yeah, we're starting our cash sale a little early this year because we just brought some brand new shrubs and trees and perennials in, and they look amazing right now. So all of our trees, all of our shade trees, flowering trees are on sale 25% off. Fruit trees are 30% off. Our perennials are 25%. Our shrubs, flowering shrubs, evergreens, and vines are all 25% off. And if you pay with cash, you get an extra 10% off. So then you would get 35% off instead of the 25%. Or if you buy the fruit trees that are already 30% off, then you get 40% off. Yeah, so a little bit better pricing there. And the cash means green bills with presidents on them.
Okay. Easy.
Not debit cards, not credit cards, not checks. We're talking like cash.
We'll get you an extra 10% off.
Extra 10% off on all of our nursery stock that we have in right now. Does not include special orders. So if you need to special order that beech tree in that you're looking for, that would not be included in the sale. Okay. It's just what we've got in stock.
Currently in stock.
Yeah, what we've got in stock right now. So it's time to start finding homes for those. But the next week is 1st of August.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
Summer is just
3 weeks
by.
And like school starting back up for everybody. So that's a great indicator that it is time to start planting your fall crops. And so if you've like finished up with your spinach and your lettuce and your radishes and broccoli, they're kind of done, for the season. Usually right after Pioneer Day is when we like to plant our fall crops. Now, I've replanted some beans and some corn, so I've got a nice late crop of those coming on, and we've recycled and reused some of that space where we've already harvested a bunch of things. But if you want to do fall crops again, like if you want to plant some more peas for fall, or some spinach or lettuce, or radishes again, or if you want to do cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, they will all do great because they mature in September and October. If you plant them right now, they'll mature in September and October, and that's when temperatures are cooling down, and those plants will be tastier.
They do really well.
They do really well in that cool environment. And so you plant them now. You got nice warm soil temperatures. Those plants will be up in like no time, and they'll do just fine during the hot temperatures. But then by September, we're starting to cool down, and then by the end of September, you're actually starting to pick some of that stuff. So you plant peas right now, they'll be ready the 1st of October.
Oh, nice.
They'll be ready to pick the 1st of October, so no problems there. But spinach will be great. Your kale will be perfect. Really, most of the farmers are doing cauliflower and cabbage right now. They're planting them right now so that they'll be ready for harvest for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So they don't plant them in March for Thanksgiving. They plant them now. Yeah, they plant them right now for Thanksgiving. And then I had another customer in the other day, and she's like, okay, I want to do my own onions for next year, and I want to start them from seed. I've heard you can start them from seed. When should I do that? And that was a great question. And Dr. Pollard at Utah State, he was a plant specialist up there. He developed all kinds of penstemon, and he was a great guy. He would come in the store, and every single year, like clockwork, he had his like little journal and his notebook and all the stuff that he planted.
What he would buy at a certain time.
19th of August.
Every
year. He would plant his onions like from seed every year on the 19th of August. And then the plants would come up. They would get, 3, 4, or 5 inches tall or so. And then winter would come and they just kind of lay over and the snow would cover them up. And in the spring, they just like stand right back up and go like crazy. And he would bring in the biggest onions that you can imagine. Like he'd always bring us a sample in, and they were just like huge. He would start his onions every year on the exact same day, every single year, 19th of August.
Okay.
Dr. Leonard Pollard.
Wow.
And he did it for so many years. And so that's prime example of your fall crops. You would have green onions this year. You wouldn't, have large onions for storing, but then you can let them winter over and then you can transplant them wherever you want them for next year. So he'd plant them in a big block. So he'd just plant this big block of onions, and they'd just all come up nice and thick. And then in the spring, he'd dig them up and then transplant the plants into, individual rows or different areas. And so you can plant them thicker, use them for green onions this fall. And then next spring, when they pop back up, then you can dig those up and
space them
out where you need them to go.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what he would do. So he'd start those every 19th of August. So if you want to do some new lettuces, this is this great time. First or second week of August, great time to plant new lettuces and spinach. Kale, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower. You could direct seed those right out into the garden, or you could start them inside and then transplant those out, later in the month. Maybe by the end of August, you'd have, good sized plants. Usually it's about 4 to 6 weeks to have the plants ready to transplant. And we have a couple growers that are going to be growing plants for us, so they'll have those ready the end of August to do more broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower. If you want to come in and get some plants, they'll come in with our pansies as well too. So it's usually the end of August, 1st of September, all the pansies start showing up for fall planting as well too. So that works great. And you still have time to plant beets and carrots and beans and even a short day corn. If you do a corn that's a 60 to 70 day corn, you plant it right now, it will be ready before the 1st of August.
Have it up?
Not 1st of August, 1st of October. 1st of October, yeah. 1st of October, ready to go. And it's really nice to get that late crop of corn coming on, because it's the garden's pretty much done at that point. You're there's nothing left. Oh, the corn's coming on again. Yeah. Tomatoes won't ripen, but at least we've got corn.
Yeah. And plus
1st of October, it's
then
kind of a
when,
nice surprise.
when all your corn comes on at once, then you're having corn for every meal.
You can't handle it. Yeah, it's so much corn.
Spread it out a little bit.
So we've planted 3 rows, and then we waited and we planted 3 more, for a little bit later crop. And then right now we could plant another 3, and they would come on that first week of October, which would be perfect. Yeah, it would be absolutely perfect. And in the first part of the show, we were actually talking recipes on how to cook a bunch of different things. So we talked grilled zucchinis. This week I've never tried it before, and we should have. I grilled onions on the grill as well too. So just right there next to the turkey patties that I was cooking, we just sliced the onions nice and thick, and they were 1/2-inch thickness on the onions, and the onions were just huge. And again, a little bit of avocado oil for the really hot grill, and threw those on there. And the seasoning was just Lowry seasoned salt, nothing serious, just the simple Lowry seasoned salt on one side. Amazing.
Really good.
Oh, they were so good. So I did the Dolce Grande, which is a huge white onion, and when you cook them, they are so sweet. It's the sweetest onion you can imagine. And so we were just pulling those off the grill with the tongs and throwing them on a plate, and everybody just ate them before we even started the meal, because they were just so good. Yeah, I couldn't leave them alone. They were so yummy. So not too bad at all.
Okay.
Yeah, really not too bad. So
well, it's definitely that time. A lot of things finally coming in season, enjoying the fruits of our labors. And we were talking about it's not too late to plant. It's a great time to plant trees and shrubs, especially with them being on sale right now.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the things we've been looking at. We planted an apricot tree last year and did well during the fall.
Right.
Then we got through winter, and I think I may have over-fertilized it a little bit or something.
Oh, possible.
And because it leafed out, and then all of a sudden the leaves just shriveled up
and dropped.
And my wife and I have been debating: do we give it another year to see if it comes back out, or do we
That's a tough one, because we've been having trouble with some of the trees on Center Street, and we found out that the water system had a blockage, and so a bunch of them weren't getting water. But on the other side of the street, last year we had a water line break, and so the tree got too much water, and it drowned. But it will do the same thing. The symptoms are the same. So it's
similar.
If they're dropping leaves in the middle of summer, they're either getting too much or not enough. Yeah, and you'll see similar symptoms. So fortunately, the trees on Center, even the ones that have dropped all their leaves, the tissue's still green underneath. So they should I have my fingers crossed. They should kick some more leaves out, and maybe we'll get some foliage before fall hits in because we've got the water system fixed. But double check for watering. So it could be too much. It could be not enough, especially where you live here on the west side of town. The soil's a little heavier. It collects all that moisture, and sometimes it will just drown in too much water, and it will shed. It will shed all the leaves. Yeah. So the key is to dig your holes extra wide. So our customers are coming in right now and getting trees to plant in their yard, even though it's 95, in the 90s temperature, it's not too hot. It's okay. But dig your holes extra wide so that we can take that soil out. I throw it in the wheelbarrow, and then I condition it with a nice transplanting mix. So I've got Miller's raised bed mix is great. We've got some tree and shrub mixes, and we'll mix it 50-50 in with the soil that you take out of the hole. Pull all the rocks and the junk and stuff out as well to get rid of that, and then mix this transplanting mix in with your soil that you took out of the hole. It will lighten that soil up. It'll be loose and fluffy and nice. And then when you're backfilling, make sure and treat the tree with some mycorrhiza with Mike, and then backfill with that soil. Water it with the Kangaroots or a root stimulator to really get things going, and make sure and saturate that whole soil that you put back in the hole. But then don't water it too frequently. Some people are just like, oh, it's hot outside, I'm going to water it every single day, and then every day is just, it's just too much. It doesn't drain out. And so really the best way to water is to give it a couple days after you plant it, and then where you dug the hole out, dig down 2 or 3 inches. And if the soil is still moist down 2 or 3 inches, leave it alone. Just let it go another day or two, and then check it again before you water it. We want the soil to dry out down 3 inches to 4 inches before you water it again, because there's good soil moisture down deeper.
Below.
So you'll check the top and it's like, ooh, it's dry up on top, but you go down 2 or 3 inches and it's still moist. That the tree is still picking up the moisture, the shrub is still picking up moisture. And so sometimes even when it's 95 degrees outside, you're going to go 3, 4, 5, 6 days between waterings, because your soil might be just holding plenty of moisture there, and we don't want to drown them, because they will. They'll start dropping leaves, and they'll look like they're not getting enough water. And so then what do? You give them more water. It's like, oh, they're really wilting, I'm going to have to water some more. And then you're like, another 5 gallons, and it's like, oh, they've only gotten 25 gallons this week.
Exactly.
It's just like 5 times more than probably what they really need. So so dig the holes extra wide, 2 to 3 times the size of the pot, but about the same depth. Mix some nice soil in there, some good soil amendment. Use the mycorrhiza, use Kangaroots, and they'll take off like crazy.
Fertilizer.
Great time to get those planted. And like you said, trees, shrubs, evergreens, vines, all on sale at Anderson's right now, 25% off. And then we are starting the cash sale, so you can get an extra 10% off on top of the 25. So good deal right now.
Well, and you brought up watering with your trees and shrubs, but I know one of the questions you're getting a lot right now is watering lawns.
Watering the lawn.
See a lot of lawn stress right now.
The rule of thumb is 1 to 1.5 inches of water per week for your lawn in 2 or 3 applications. So if you do 2 applications, you should apply 3/4 of an inch of water with each application. If you're doing 3 applications, do about 1/2 inch of water each time. And if you do that, it will make your root system go deeper, and your grass will be more resilient when it's really hot and won't stress as much. And there are some really great watering aids that help with stress and help absorb and retain the moisture in your soil. So either the Back to Green or the Hydrotain just really make a huge difference. You don't have to water as much. Your fertilizer will react better. Your grass just looks great. You don't have to mow anymore. I mean, it's not like you're mowing more. It's just the grass is utilizing the water better. The soil is absorbing and holding the moisture a lot better. So this year we just pretty much broke down and said, okay, we're just going to put Hydrotain over the entire lawn, and then we're going to do my parents' house, which is right next door to us as well too. And so we basically have almost an acre of grass between the 2 properties. And so it just, the Hydrotain just makes that much of a difference. It's kind of expensive, but we just decided to bite the bullet and just do it all.
To try it.
It's the best my parents' lawn has looked for a decade.
Really?
Honestly, yeah. It just looks so good. It's just like green all the way through. Of course, they have really tall, mature trees, so there's a lot of shade as well too. But their lawn has never looked as good, and we haven't adjusted the sprinklers any more than what we have done years past. It's just that Hydrotain is pulling that moisture down into the soil. It's like holding it there for the grass. It has just been sensational.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So we did the same thing with our turf. Normally I use the Hydrotain, but I only put it in like the 2 trouble spots. I don't put it over the whole lawn. This year we put it over the whole lawn. Huge difference.
Okay.
Yeah, just can't believe the difference on the turf. So we're only watering that 1 inch to inch and a half a week.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do that in 2 or 3 waterings, you will use a lot less water, and your grass will look just as good.
And if you haven't done your summer fertilizer, definitely time to throw some fertilizer out.
Between the 4th of July and the 24th of July, which is pretty much right now, that's when we like to do that middle of the summer fertilization. And it really does make a big difference. So you want to slow release nitrogen. Nothing is going to release too fast, so we want to slow release nitrogen. You don't need hardly any phosphorus, but a high potassium is really helpful because it helps the plants pick up and utilize the water better. And so we'll use like a 23-316 right now, or the Fertilome Green Maker is great for right now because it's got a high potassium, high nitrogen, and a 5% iron in there. So it'll really, really green the lawn up without making it grow out of control. But the high potassium really helps with water uptake, so your grass is picking up the water a lot better. So good fertilizers for right now. The Humate, if you really need to recover some areas that are kind of struggling, the Humate would be excellent to apply right now as well too. And a lot of people plant grass. Yeah, tons of people plant grass. So we went out and planted grass for one of my friends last week. They wanted a very, very drought-tolerant grass, so we decided to try the Eden grass blend for them. So the Eden has some very drought-resistant bluegrasses and some dwarf turf-type fescues in there, and so it's super, super drought-tolerant, but it stays green. When the other grasses start to brown up, it will stay green longer, and it's got a really, really deep root system, so the roots on that grass will go like 3-4 feet into the ground looking for water. So a very resilient grass, and they should be popping up right now. I gotta text her and see if her grass is up already. Because I was gonna do that on Tuesday because it had been a week, and it usually takes about a week for that to come up. So I will have to, as soon as the show's over, text her.
And one of the advantages we've talked about, grass just helps cool things off. I was
really
driving through a new neighborhood that's being developed over by us on the west side, and noticed they were using a lot of rock. And I told my wife, I said, "Can you imagine during these triple-digit temperatures trying to walk along that sidewalk?"
Oh, it's just hot.
Yeah, you're going to just bake.
Yep. So trees, amazing. Shrubs, great. Grass, great. And they really cool the environment. They really filter dust and carbon dioxide out of the air as well too. I mean, they're pulling that carbon out of the air. They've got to get carbon from somewhere to grow. So they're pulling carbon out of the air. So the more trees and turf, drought resistant turf and shrubs and things we can put into our environment, the more it's going to cool things down. Yeah, it's definitely going to cool things down. So we can talk all about reducing our carbon, but we actually want to increase our carbon in the plant material
in some ways.
Plant material, because that's what really cools our environment down is all those plants. And the more asphalt and the more concrete and the more rock we put out, the warmer it's going to be.
Yeah,
the warmer it's going to be. So we want lots of shade from the trees, and we want plants that are filtering our air. And believe it or not, turf is amazing for filtering dust, and it traps water into the soil that would run off and go somewhere else, and creates a nice lawn. Creates as much oxygen as a couple really big trees do. Yeah. Because it's a very large organism, and it creates a lot of oxygen.
And one of the things you see with, when you do like a rock landscape or something like that, sure, you might think it looks great for the first year, maybe the second year, but then weeds start coming up into that, and it's just going to become a headache.
Yeah. You gotta do weed control just like you do with other planting areas. So whether you're putting down bark or whether you're putting down lava rock or wash pebbles or whatever, there's some things we can do to prevent those weeds from coming up and keep it clean a little bit more. Some great pre-emergents. I love using pre-emergent in those areas because it just saves so much work later on. But plant those plants, plant those trees, and they're on sale right now at Anderson's. Yeah, 25% off trees, 30% off fruit trees. Evergreens are 25% off. Shrubs, 25%. Flowering trees, vines, they're all 25% off. And if you pay with cash, you get that extra 10%.
10%.
Extra 10%.
Well, we've still got 5 more minutes, Mark, to talk about some of the other questions that have come up at the store during the past week that customers are coming in saying,
wasps
what is
and
going on?
hornets. Lots of people coming in with wasps and hornets. They seem to be building nests all over the place. So when I pulled the grill out to smoke, do smoked pulled pork this week, pulled that out, opened the grill up, wasp nest in there. I mean, it's been like 2 weeks since I've used it, so it's not like it's been sitting there all summer, but 2 weeks, wasp nest in there. So seeing a lot of wasps and hornets showing up like crazy. And we have a couple different options. The Bug Blaster does a great job. The Sayonara does a really great job. Any of the permethrin products would be really good. But I do have some aerosols that are great because when you spray them, when they hit the surface, they foam. They foam up.
Kill on contact.
Yeah, so it kills on contact, but that foam is great because you can spray a wasp nest and it foams up and it coats the whole thing, keeps them from coming out and attacking you. And you can spray from like 20 feet away, and when it hits, it just kind of like foams up. And so those are very, very effective. Quick knockdown, but then it gives you a nice residual as well too. And the foaming action is really, really helpful. Best time to spray wasps and hornets is not during the day. It's when the sun's going down.
Wait until night.
Yep. Yeah, when the sun's going down and it's not dark outside, but the sun's down and it's still a little bit light outside, that's the time to spray because they've all gone home for the night. And then you can spray, and with the foaming action aerosol, it will cover that whole nest, and as they emerge, it kills them, and they almost instantly drop to the ground. And that's the best way to eradicate the nests of the wasps and hornets that are showing up. We do have some traps that work really, really well too. So the Y traps work on wasps and hornets and yellow jackets. We also have yellow jacket traps as well too. They have an attractant in there that attracts the wasps, hornets, and yellow jackets to the trap. Then they get stuck inside; they can't get out, and those work really well. What we have found though is it's better to not put those right on the deck or right next to the pool because it will attract them to
right
the deck,
to that
and right to
area.
the pool. So put that out away from the pool and out away from the deck and attract them to that location instead of where you're hanging out. So don't put them on the deck. Put them at the far corner of the yard, and they will be attracted to it instead of to the food that you're having, on your deck or on your patio or whatever.
And for people who say, well, my neighbor has bees and I am afraid that could kill their bees. The attractant does
not bother the bees. Yeah, it does not bother the bees at all. And some of the repellents that we use will actually work on wasps and hornets and yellow jackets, but doesn't seem to bother the bees. They have a different radar system that isn't affected by it. And so the traps are only catching the ones that are annoying, and like honeybees, it really won't bother those, or pollinating bees like mason bees or bumblebees. I've never seen anybody catch a bumblebee in any of these traps. It works really, really very effective and safe for kids and people. We just want to attract them somewhere other than your deck and your patio or your grill area.
Picnic.
Yeah, just don't put the traps up there. Put them like as far away out in the yard as possible. Same thing with the fly traps. Haven't seen the flies too bad, but they usually start showing up in August and September. So,
we're seeing a lot of earwigs this year, which we haven't seen in years past.
Yeah. A
lot of earwigs.
Got a gentleman coming in the store almost weekly, and he's kind of like created his own traps, and so he's trapping like literally thousands
of earwigs.
And I was just like, dang, that is just really gross. I'm sorry you have to deal with so many.
But the Bug Blaster works really good.
Works great on those. Yeah, it works great on those. And we have granules as well as the liquid for crawling insects. Works really well. Ants. A lot of people are having ants. But it's the wasps and hornets really are really kicking up, which means we'll probably have a big spider season in August and September as well too. So we'll just have to kind of plan for that as well too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us
You're
for the
so
show.
welcome. Yeah.
And we'll be back again next week, and looking forward to taking calls. So
and cash sale.
keep those-
Don't forget cash
Oh,
sale.
yes.
Yeah, cash sale. Pay with cash, get an extra 10% off our already on sale trees and shrubs and plants.
this weekend and continuing into next week. And if you missed a part of the show, you want to go back and listen to this show or any of the other garden guides, you can always go to kvnutalk.com and click on the podcast library. And join us again next week. You're on the Garden Guide on KVNU.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, wherever the mission takes us, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
KVNU, Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM with the best.